Hey everybody, welcome to No Breakaways, your source for all the Zwift racing tips and tricks. I'm here with the two co-hosts, Jackie Godby of Team Saris, the Pros Closet inside and outside 4-star coaching. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right. How have you been, Jackie?
Uh, really good and also really tired. We'll touch on Zwift Premier League later today, but lots and lots of racing and training, so lots of cookies as well.
That's perfect.
Well-earned cookies.
You got to balance. You got to have balance in your life, for sure. For sure. And Jordan Shane from inside Team Finesse Esports and outside Elevate Webaplex. How's it going, man?
Good, Rick. How are you?
Good, good. What you been up to? I've seen a couple 100-mile rides on Strava.
Yeah, I think, what's in miles? I did 232K one day here. That was pretty big.
Nice.
So, yeah, still enjoying Tucson, although after that ride, it suddenly got very hot and we've been up to 100 degrees quite a few times. So I'm hard acclimating to that. I'm leaving the house far earlier than I want to in the morning. And going back to Canada shortly because I can't. It gets so much hotter than this, and I can't even conceptualize that.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So my big question. I know you guys have Jordan. I saw you race a little bit on Zwift. Jackie, I know you've been racing on Zwift. So yeah, Jackie, tell me a little bit about what you've been doing, and then what are your plans for the summer? What do you got going on? You got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. So as you said, there's lots of stuff going on. This summer, starting July, I will be moving to Riverside, California to do my first year of medical residency. Before that, and then actually 12 days now, I get married to my fellow Zwift racer and outside teammate for 4-star endurance coaching, John Cooper. And somewhere between those 2 points, I graduate from medical school. So very, very busy year. On top of all that, I've been racing because, that just is something I do for me. That's fun. That's how I relieve the stress of wedding planning. And that's how I justify making that extra batch of cookies. So, Zwift Premier League Season 3 has recently started up again. I'm part of that with Saris the Pros Closet. And I do the points races. We're trying something a little bit different this year because team time trial strategy is so important that you know all your teammates like the back of the hand. And with my wonderfully crazy schedule, I can't commit to that practice. I will be doing only points races this season. But lots of fun, get to play to my strengths. And then outside of Zwift, I've also been doing a new racing series on RGT, 4-week series that just happened to skip the weekend of my wedding. So John said, I'm signing up, and do you really want me to race without you? So kind of just playing both platforms there, having a lot of fun, and getting ready for the big life events coming up this summer.
So I had emailed Jackie and I sent her a message and I was like, hey, I didn't see you won the Premier League race today, like with a smiley face. And she responded, yeah, Heino won again. And I don't want to get into Premier League enough. So I'm not asking you again, Jackie. Jordan, who won the Women's Premier League race today?
I'm pointing upwards.
Yeah, she's over there. She's down on your screen. She's down on your screen. Jackie, congratulations. Awesome to see that win.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to come back to the platform and really see and play with a lot of the changes that they're implementing. I think we say it again and again on this platform. eRacing, virtual racing is a very young and dynamic sport. We're constantly changing how it does. And Zwift recently implemented 2 very, very large changes. The first being the change to the draft. So drafting dynamics are very, very different. And that was a surprise today, coming out of the start pen, being in a field of 90 women and not having the draft work how I expected. And second is actually also the weigh-in procedure. So because of recent cultural shifts and this sort of pushback against weigh-ins and the weigh-in culture, Zwift has recently removed the weigh-in procedures from 24 hours before to 2 hours before in the hope that it'll sort of level the playing field and racers will be racing at a weight closer to their true weight rather than something, where you're able to diet and do the wrestler's weight loss spit in a cup, to get down to that ideal weight. So we'll kind of see how that pans out. But very, very fun to get back and see how these changes are really changing the field.
And do you have any plans to do any racing outside of Zwift this summer, or do you any targets?
Yeah, so that is still up in the air. I was talking with my coach about making some of the Mid America Time Trial series up through Northern Illinois. It's really difficult to say right now, just because there are restrictions kind of threatening in Illinois as our COVID cases surge again. The first one was actually unable to get certified due to local restrictions. So very up in the air. We're just going to stay flexible. And in the meantime, I'm going to Vegas next week, and I'm going to be doing a lot of riding out there. That is my bachelorette trip.
Welcome to the heat. Welcome to the
Yeah.
heat. That is going to be smoking hot for you. Oh, 6 a.m. is when you gotta leave.
I'm a former swimmer. 6 a.m. is my
Oh.
bread and butter. Like that's what time you start.
Well, there you go. You're ready.
And Jordan, how about you? How have things been? What you been up to, and what do you got planned?
Yeah, so I took a good break from Zwift racing in general after season 2 ended. Yeah, we ended pretty well there. Took a break, and I've been focusing on the road. We've got some events actually confirmed, have taken our registration money, it's in places like Oklahoma and Arkansas, some of the more open states, but they're there and we're pumped for them. So we're training up for that. We're finally going to have our team camp shortly. So that's all stuff I'm working towards. It's less normal than we'd maybe hope for this year, but it's at least there and you got to bank on it. That's my real job, is to race bikes on the road. So yeah, I've been working hard here in Tucson on that. And then I started the season 3 team time trial last week, and it was a bit of a disaster with that drafting. Have to say, didn't bring my best legs either. Left a lot of that out on the desert highways, I think. But yeah, we can talk more about the drafting. But yeah, rude reintroduction. Didn't race this week because I can't sprint at all, and that's what it was all about this week. And I think I'll probably end up doing a few in this season, but mostly on the road. But I'm a part of the Zwift community. I watch all these things. I can't stay away from it. So maybe I'll be more of a viewer this season, but certainly it's very enjoyable. And based on today's race, it's going to be better viewing than ever.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's great. I mean, I'm really glad to hear that you're going to get to race on the roads, and I guess kind of get to do your profession that you haven't got to do in like a year or so.
Yeah, it's been crazy. February 2020, I did one race, and the last one before that was September 2019.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a long time. But,
yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, I mean, for me, I just after last CRL season, I took 3 weeks totally off, lost all my fitness. I'm down like 30 watts on my FTP. So it's been a rather rude introduction in the CRL season, especially trying to deal with
you listen to my coaching advice, though, Rick.
I did listen to your coach. I know I got free coaching advice from Jordan. So he said just take some time off. I was burnt out, and we had been talking about it, so it was good. I'm enjoying biking again, and that's the most important part. Like,
cool.
I mean, it'd be nice to have that FTP back, but it's better to be able to, to be able to throw my leg over the top tube without feeling like I'm torturing myself. So yeah, at least I enjoy it when I am torturing myself, like I was an hour ago.
Good torture.
Yeah.
I can feel a sweat on your brow still. That's
like when I got on like 30 minutes early with Jacquie, and like I'm sure my face was still red. Like I got off the bike at like 7:15, and I had to go like make my recovery drink because I was dead.
Like I got off my bike at 2:30, and I'm sure my face is still red. So no judgment from this quarter.
Yeah, well, it's a lot more. It's a lot better when your face is red, Jacquie, and you took a win in a Premier League. than when your face is red and you got 66th in America's B1 division, tailed off like 10 minutes into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I gotta say, I did maybe the most selfish thing I've ever done in a race today. So I got in this pack and we were trying to catch another pack. And I really wanted people to work. Like I was trying to do some work, and the guy even messaged me later, and I literally typed in the thing, anybody who does work in this pack for us to catch this group, I will give you a shout on no breakaways tonight. I literally said that. And so
right,
here we go. Here we go. It was just it was just one guy. Racer of the week this week, BMAC, America's B1 division, did a ton of work. He was pushing. Thank you for messaging me. You are the racer of the week.
Racer of the year.
You were my hero today. I'm sorry I couldn't do more work. I was dying the entire time, but I tried to do something. So BMAC, this week I pulled that card out of my hat for the first time ever. Like, I will shout you out. So maybe the draft changed and I didn't know how to deal with it, but I got some other arrows in my quiver. So,
Nice.
yeah. I'm slightly ashamed of myself, but also shout out to BMAC. That was my guy today.
You got to do what you got to do.
I know,
I mean, that's great. Now everybody knows BMAC is the guy you want in your group rides.
Fact.
He's the guy you want in your team. Like, everybody wants the guy who's willing to work at the front of the draft. So
yeah,
that's worth something.
Yeah, BMAC is my new best friend. Team ODZ, BMAC, you're my guy. I appreciate it. So for all the No Breakaways viewers who watch this, if you're riding with him, give him a ride on. Okay, so enough about my selfishness and trying to catch up to another group by bribing people. Let's talk about the Premier League. Let's talk about ZRL. I don't even know where to kick it off. I desperately want to talk about the draft physics. We already got out of the way that Heino won the women's race. Kind of. Yep. The real winner, Jackie, gotta be. Yes.
I have thoughts on this. I thought that it was different this time. Heino won again, but I thought it was a little different.
Well, it was. I noticed that it wasn't like Heino smashing everybody. Like, it looked very competitive. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I was in a meeting.
Here's my take on it. I watched the first lap, and they attacked it and rolled everyone, and I just said, "Oh, here we go again." This is what they do every time. They can't win the race quick enough. That's their thing, is like, we got to win this thing right away. And you would want that too if you'd won all the other races right away. But then on the second lap, Jacquie struck back and stitched it back up and won the sprint and started it. And they were totally off the game after that. It wasn't the same domination. And I'm thinking that maybe the time has come, like a few more strong riders on different teams step up. I think that it's going to change because they're so used to just riding the race from the beginning and having this security. Oh yeah, we already got a 500-point buffer. We got this thing won. We got 10 riders in the front group. And I think once you start fighting back a little bit, they're going to be on their heels. And that was really good to see. And, Jackie's a key part of that. You have to have a Jacquie to pull that strategy off. But I think it's going to change. And that would be so good because the race was otherwise so exciting. If you had a team dynamic as well, where that was uncertain as well, I think that it's just like can't miss viewing.
Well, I mean, it looked like there were a lot of teams represented. I saw Movie Star up there, which was cool. Beth MacGyver got second.
I think that's really, really the key. Team Heino has always succeeded because they don't have a single star rider. They are able to place, 4 or 5 riders in the intermediate sprints, in the top 10. And so they just succeed in the fact that all of their riders together average more than all of the other riders together. And today, we only saw one of their riders in the top 10, and we saw 2 other teams put 2 up there. So, Saris was one of them. And I think it was Movistar that put was it?
I think it was. I know Beth MacGyver was second, and I saw another Movistar one. And I was kind of like looking at the lead groups and how big.
Clutterbuck.
Yeah. Movistar just had second. Yeah, you guys were the only ones with 2 in the top 10, but we had a lot of other riders getting up there. like you guys Saris basically just about won the second or the back 2/3 of the race in terms of points. I know stole the early stuff, but you guys were clawing back, so it's a little closer, and it was more fun to watch because you started to wonder whether they were going to be able to close it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really glad that it was more exciting. And before we talk about maybe why it was more exciting, other than kind of the inevitable winner, I know Jackie probably hates when I say stuff like that, but she can yell at me later. She can't yell at me on air. Well, she could. It'd be weird though.
Yeah, let's bring.
Yeah. Jordan, did you watch the men's race? How was that?
It was great actually. It was very intense from the start, but it was not the intense in the usual slow death spiral. Everybody's doing 5.3 watts per kilo in the draft, which was what I was expecting, really, based on like last year, the Richmond course, or last season rather. No, there's attacks. Bruce Bird made a move off the front. His teammate Ryan Rutherham later made a move off the front and then got caught on that little dirt climb and spat out the back. But I think that's the drafting too, though, because he got caught and then it was just like, no, that's like real life. If you lose it, you lose it. There's no blob surge to help you through. So it's high stakes now. It's it's Texas Hold'em out there. There's a lot of bold moves out there, and teams were sort of pushing it. I don't know whether they figured out how to maximize that aggression yet. But and then at the end of the race, my teammate Matt Usborne just did like a superhero attack, and he did 500 watts for 10 minutes. It was a lot.
Well, I see
I was watching that and just suffering on his behalf. That was
unreal.
Much.
He's an indoor specialist. If there ever was one, like I've seen the guy just get better and better at this. So, and he got cut with 10 meters to go. So, and that was because in the back you watched and no one's pulling on the front. It's like 3s and 4s watts per kilo. And I think everybody's expecting the blob effect to do its thing, but it's not. He's just gaining time. And like he got caught 10 meters to go. They somehow brought back 15 seconds in the last K, which in real life would never happen. I know Matt's my buddy, but that would never, ever happen, especially when the guy's doing 500 watts still.
Yeah, I see he averaged 5.5 watts per kilo for 20 minutes, 6.4 for 5 minutes. So, yeah.
Well, he's a big unit, though, so that doesn't even tell the story. Like 500 absolute is so high. But anyway, like we haven't had, when I did my big attack that everybody was talking about or whatever, I got 700 meters to go and it was never close. Like I knew I wasn't going to make it, but this was like everybody was screaming. I was on the Discord with the team and it was like, you're gonna, and he still came top 10, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I thought it was really good from a viewer's perspective over both races. I thought they did a lot of cool new graphics, which maybe you guys didn't see as racing or whatever, but they had new draft saving stuff.
Yeah, breakaways when they were able to kind of get those new angles on the solo riders, like that was very well rendered. I really liked that. That was just aesthetically pleasing.
There was some cool new stuff rolled in there, and it came in timely fashion. I don't know. You'd think they'd be out of practice, like a month off, but it was very seamless. The only complaint I have with the new draft physics is the viewability of it in the pack. That is tough to look at if you actually are looking at the pack because these riders aren't passing each other anymore. It's kind of like Tetris going on at a very, schizophrenic rate, and it's difficult to watch. If you can sort of zoom your mind out a little bit and not focus on that, I can't because of ADD, but that's my only complaint. Maybe the draft physics can stay the same, but the actual visual rendering could get a little smoother. But yeah, it's the best race I've watched on Zwift, I'll say, I think.
So you're pro the new draft physics?
I raced the draft physics in the team time trial and I thought it was abysmal because if you come off of the wheel in front of you and you're in a single line, it's like 1 meter, okay, 2 meters, you're completely out of the draft.
Right.
And your rider will hop over randomly out of the draft. And all of a sudden you're pulling again. I don't know whether team time trialing is going to work that well with these physics because it's so unpredictable and the penalty is so high. as a crew, like Jackie was saying, like it's the same 5 guys roughly that we've always had, a couple new guys this season, but we all know what we're doing in team time trials. And like it was, halfway, I was like, guys, let's just shut it down. This is horrible. And of course, we kept going, but yeah, it's that was frustrating. But the pack, maybe it's a little better. It's still hard, it sounds like, from Jackie's perspective, but certainly there's value in the pack racing. The team time trial, I didn't see it. As I was quoted at the end of the race as saying, that was absolute trash. So that was my opinion, but my heart rate was very high. So forgive me, Zwift.
So what did you think, Jackie? Do you prefer the new physics over the old physics?
I have to learn the new physics, and that's really my opinion at this point in time. Is I would be absolute trash in a team time trial right now, because I don't know where to visually gauge. And, I was really saved today by the fact that if I was in a pack, I was going to be drafting no matter where I was, because there were 30 people ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was very, very generous with the packet. Or I was actively sprinting and I had this line of racers. So again, it was very, very generous in terms of I was just going to suck the draft until I was in front. So I think on my part, this is something that I need to practice with. I need to get John out on Tempest Fugit and do some, threshold level efforts with him, because on the flats, we're going to hold the same watts per kilo. We're going to hold very, very same to the close watts. And I just need to feel what it's like. Like, that's on me to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I thought
I'm not going to let somebody else get that advantage that they know it's better than me. Like,
I thought that with that perspective, it's very interesting, actually, with your perspective that you were struggling with it at the beginning, because I watched the beginning of the race and now I can see it was a baller move. I'm like, why is Jackie just riding on the front? It's because you didn't want to draft. Oh, I'll just ride 5.5 watts per kilo instead and slightly off the front, because if I'm not going to draft, I might as well. No one else can do that.
Either.
Rick, why didn't you do that in your race today? Just ride off the front, dude. It's,
I mean, I did ride off the front of the very last pack in the race a little bit one time, but wait, so it's kind of interesting because I think the three of us have different perspectives because we're all very, very different riders. I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say Jackie is just an absolute killer at every single part of Zwift.
And I would never ride 237 kilometers in Arizona. That sounds insane.
So typically what I was is I've never been like the highest. I mean, I'm a Cat B, not obviously, but I am a Cat B. And I mean, I have lost some fitness for sure. But I mean, my thing was always, I worked really hard every race. My one Zwift skill was ability to draft. Like, I always had the lowest watts per kilo. Sometimes in the race with being able to stick with the front pack. Like, it is the thing I practice, because I knew that I can't be a Jackie, I can't be a Jordan, but I can be very, very, very savvy and saving every single watt that I could. And so I feel like the changes have hit me particularly hard, because I used to dangle 3-4 meters off the back all the time. Team time trials, like, that's where I would sit and I'd be fine. But
don't try that, man.
Well, and I did. I was off after 10, 15 minutes in the team time trial. I didn't help because I knew that I wasn't in that good a shape. So I'm like, guys, after we get over the aqueduct, I'll take some pulls. I mean, I'm going to be off. And we got to the bottom of the aqueduct and I came off and I was like, I can't get back on. Like, I just couldn't. I did literally nothing for my team, which obviously sucks. But like, I was like, what? I dropped 2 meters back, like you're saying, Jordan, and I would have to just cram to get back on. And so it was the same thing today. For me personally, it turned it into more of an FTP test, which seems like it was like the big criticism of Zwift by like outdoor riders have always been like, Zwift is an FTP test, right?
Yes.
And so like it's interesting to me that and maybe it's a B category thing, maybe it's a dude who lost 30 or 40 watts off his FTP thing, but maybe it's just like I don't feel like I have any racecraft anymore. It's just like cram as hard as I can until I get spit out the back, and then.
So here's Here's my take, because watching the broadcast, I don't know whether you saw it, Jackie. They actually showed for a moment the draft cone, and it was like it had like the heat map of where the draft is, and so it's like red in the front, and then it's like normal. It's like this is how it should look. It's getting a little stronger at the back, but then
Yeah.
it is just a line. It just stops,
Yeah.
and it's only about 10 feet off the back rider. And like, in real life, in a big pack, actually, when you're coming up to it,
It's
you get the draft
horrible.
from,
Like it's
yeah, you can feel that draft from like 50 feet back. It'll
Yeah.
pull you up, at a certain point, you're done. And that's a big criticism of Zwift too, is like once you're off the back, you're toast. And I would have thought they addressed that. It seems like they fixed the problem of no breakaways. You're going to have to change the name of your channel, Rick.
No.
I'm sorry.
No. I can't
'Cause
change
there
it
will-
to breakaways because that's the prison team.
Right.
So-
There's breakaways now. So, but
maybe I'll change it to occasional breakaways.
yes. That doesn't roll off the tongue.
No,
but
no.
We'll workshop it.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's probably a way to figure this out. I'm just looking at the watts per kilo of the race today. There's a pretty big spread between, those who drafted well and those who didn't. There's probably 15% in it if you look for it. But yeah, it'll be a matter of recalibrating, I guess, your feeling. You have to just be hyper alert, was my observation. Just very on top of it.
Well, and it specifically impacted the way I had learned to race. Again, I had my exceptional 1%er Zwift skill was ability to draft. Like I could be very punchy. Like you couldn't drop me in a Zwift race, in a B Zwift race. Either of you two could drop me very easily. But like in a B Zwift race, there was just almost like I could just hang with it because I was good enough at drafting and punchy enough to stay with the lead group when I was in good shape. But now it's
that's true to real life too. Like if you're good in drafting in real life on a flat, you shouldn't get dropped. There's always like a 50-year-old former pro who trains 3 hours a week, shows up to the group ride, and you can't drop him, right? Because he knows how to draft. So it would be a big loss if that wasn't the case anymore on Zwift.
So part of me actually wonders if that was the reason that this course was chosen as race number 2, because on the flats we're really, really dependent for that draft, and number 2 is that these long, very, very intense breakaway sprints were extremely effective at forcing a group breakaway.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this course in particular really relied on that change in physics to make the race the way it was. And very similar to the team time trial, these are 2 races where almost more so than any other course we do, like the change in draft mechanics are going to be apparent. I think had we done a significant uphill race where the drafting is less important than the sheer watts per kilo, it would have been a very different story. But particularly in the women's race, when you saw the field almost that
Right
first
away.
sprint, as people were just gassed and could not get back on the end,
Mm-hmm.
like you were saying, Rick, I almost wonder if there was that thought of, let's show how much of a difference this is making. Let's just throw people into the fire and let them adapt and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean,
for real, part of me is just bitter that I worked so hard to learn it, and now it's different. Like there's no doubt. Like even if it was better, even if everyone liked it better, I'm still going to be a little pissed. So like take it with a grain of salt too.
Old man yelling at cloud.
Yeah, exactly. If we had that, if I was good, I'd put that meme up there, the Simpsons meme.
Yeah.
So yeah, ZRL. The ZRL was, and the B race I was in was exceptionally hard. Even my teammates who are still in really good shape, they were like, "This is the hardest B race start I've ever been in." And granted, we're in Division 1 now, which when I was in good shape, we were in the lower divisions. Now I'm in bad shape and we're in B1. But so I do think it has changed the race. Kind of like you were saying, Jackie, like people are just gassed at the start of a Premier League race. These are all top tier people. I mean, these are the best of the best of the best of the best. Like it's surprising.
I showed you my power profile, like you start high and it just goes down. This is a positively split race.
Yeah.
This is a war of attrition, and if you don't go in with that high no mindset of like, I know other people can't make this, like this will get better. I'm going to be able to slow down. It's so easy to be like, I can't hold 5.5 watts for 55 minutes. Like that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, we'll see as this changes on other courses. I will be very interested to see what happens once we actually add some elevation to this, and particularly how these draft mechanics change downhills.
I would
Mm.
also like to point out maybe the biggest change I've seen is whatever they did to the dirt combined with the steamroller was a game changer on that course. When you got the steamroller going up those things, I mean, I had to go in the backpack. I was like 6 watts, 5.5 watts per kilo up that. When I got the steamroller, I could go 3.5 or 4 watts and pass people. I mean, it was shocking today in our race, and the front guys were saying it too. It was shocking how effective the steamroller was and how much the dirt slowed us down.
Yeah.
I gotta play with this power up. I have to say I've never tried it, and now I'm curious.
That's a breakaway. That's a breakaway tool, right? You're gone.
It was. I do think, to your point, there is a potential for group breakaways. I still think single rider breakaways is a no. It's not going to happen. But I think if you get a group of 5, you could get a breakaway. Not that there are necessarily that many teams with 5 strong enough riders, but it's going to be interesting. Like I hope that they change the physics so that I can sit on the back like I used to, because for me personally, but also I felt like that was a good part of the game because it allowed you to use skill if you weren't as in good a shape. You know what I mean?
It let you be smart. It let you add, like say, I may not be the strongest, but I can be the most clever.
Yeah.
It added that sort of like
that's what bike racing is supposed to be. Otherwise, we'd call it running. Like, that's
for real. No, for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the it was interesting. Okay, so we got somebody asked, steamroller's been a hot topic. Do we think it's broken?
Like too good.
Yeah.
Is that what
I think that's what the person's saying. I thought it gave today, at least in our race, it gave a huge advantage. I mean, I saw that people were taking 5 to 10 seconds up the hill at the same wattage.
Like a 30-second hill.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I noticed I had to go all out up that hill without the steamroller. 100% all out. I'd use a draft van or an arrow, 100% all out. When I had the steamroller, it was like, I mean, it was like it was before. Like you had to go hard, but it wasn't like, but I was at the top. I wasn't like, oh my God, this is the end of my life, I mean, I'm surprised, Jackie, that you didn't see that in your race at that level.
I didn't get the steamroller, and I'm always very, very cognizant of the uphills anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in and I was very much suffering on this hill, but in my mind, it was all, this is because I weigh 20 kilos more than the average rider on this.
And you have significantly higher raw watts than the women you ride with, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at the results today, my watts per kilo are very much in the middle of the field. But then if you go on Zwift Power and you look up the raw kilos that I have to make up with for the raw watts, I'm coming in, like I said, and this is not an exaggeration, 20 kilos more than the average rider and 30 kilos more than the lightest one. So this is
Rick, would you like to
very real difference.
Would you like to guess how many more watts Jackie did than the second place rider?
I'm gonna say my joke answer first, which is 150 million more.
Okay,
but my real
that's funny, dude. That's funny.
My real,
and this is normalized power. This is not peak power.
My real guess would be 75.
90 watts. There are people in this world that have an FTP of 90, and she did 90 more than second place. So I guess there's a reason why you won.
So, well, and I think that's super interesting too, because I've heard people say, and I have nothing to back this up, that with the new draft physics, it's rewarding raw watts more, and lighter riders are having a harder time with it. I'm going to preface anything else we say by saying Jacquie won last year with the last physics and won this year with the new physics. So, like, this is not taken away from Jacquie being an absolute killer. I just want to be clear. But like, it's interesting, especially on that hill today, to hear you say like, "Oh, I didn't get the steamroller, so I didn't know it." Like, everybody, it was like the topic of the day.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it was such a nobody wanted it last season. Like, nobody even, it gets like a trash, power up. Even talk about it.
Well, and so like, I mean,
I wonder how well it'll work on cobbles, because we have more cobbles coming. I don't know whether it's included in
it. Worked well on cobbles. Yeah, it worked well on cobbles. But yeah, I think, oh God, cobble climbs. I'm not talking about cobble climbs. We got to move to the next topic. I'm not talking about that course. I'm not talking about that course.
The uphill finish next week instead.
I don't recognize these types of topics. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, New York, KOM. What do you both think?
Go ahead, Jacquie. I'll race it as well.
I'm so excited. I was actually just talking to John about this. I'm so excited to see how the new draft physics plays on the downhills. I think New York is where you could have a breakaway and make it stick with the new draft physics. I think if we have somebody sprint across the top, you have enough of a downhill, you can make it last, you can go into those last few kilometers. It might be one person, it might be three, but I think that is a very, very exciting testing ground for this, and I will be excited to watch.
Wait, are you riding? No, you're not riding.
I'm in Vegas.
Yeah, it finishes at the top, so downhill maybe not quite. Although all those little rollers, I think it'll be very interesting.
Super interesting.
How the draft.
It's steep enough in places that the draft is really negligible at points. So, I think if you can make a breakaway stick and then you have the watts to slog up the climb, you can still make it worth it.
Yeah, I can see that. I think I don't know how the women's will roll. Maybe similarly, it's kind of like I think that what we're going to see is, because the KOM finish has a steep ramp for about 2 minutes, and then it undulates, and then it's that super steep finish for about 3 minutes. So I think we're going to see a compelling finish, because I bet a few riders will break away on the first one and gamble that they can hold the gap, and then we'll see it come down on that final ramp, which would be fantastic. Like, we don't want to just wait until that final hill, and I don't think we'll have to. I think those first Gotham grind laps are going to be like a crucible, because if today was difficult with drafting,
it's going to be so hard.
New York is so difficult to figure out in the first place. And especially throw some sprints in there, like, God.
And so, short sprints. Like today we had the longer sprints, so there was time to, kind of figure out the field. You could stand up, you could be like, okay, I can surf the field. Now it's time to get in. Am I in the top 10? Where am I sitting? New York sprints are just like, go and pray. Like,
let's see whether let's see whether they've souped up the breakaway burrito, because that's like the much hated power up of all time. Well, maybe they gave it a little turbo like they did the steamroller.
I kind of like the burrito. I kind of like punishing people.
Yeah, well,
I kind of liked that side of it. So Mr. Mashadar said the Premier League only had draft, arrow, and feather. That's why you didn't notice the steamroller.
Well, we talked about that for a long time for no reason.
Yeah, but shout out Mr. Mashadar. Maybe he's BMAC. He's my savior today, I guess.
Gotcha.
I loved New York before. I'm gonna try to race this weekend. I need to get a handle of these draft physics, or I need to figure it out, because it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. By the way, if anybody watches this, I did get all the feedback about what you want in the course preview videos, and I will be reinstating the things that I kept out that you told me very vehemently that you would like back in. So shout out to everybody who commented. Yeah, so yeah, New York's gonna be hard. New York's gonna be hard. You said you're racing, Jordan?
Yes. Yeah, I'll give it a crack.
All right. I'll text you during it. I expect a response.
Nice.
So listen, Jordan.
Yes.
Past two outside the draft. We've had a Premier League winner.
Yes. Oh,
Jackie's not on. Jackie's not on next week.
Keep dreaming. I'll be happy. I mean, I think we've done well. Like, I'm pretty good in team time trials, or at least I used to be, but I've yet to score a point individually in Premier League. So we will see about that. There's a lot of guys who can do a lot of watts for 3 minutes. I can do a lot of watts for 3 minutes, but we'll see whether I can get there in the first place. So yeah, I don't know.
So we need to find a co-host for next week. We can never reach Jackie's level, but we got to find somebody. Maybe I'll hit up Anna Russell or something. She can come on. That would be that'd be a good one. That'd be a good one.
We'll sound so dull in comparison with that brilliant
she's legit. Like when we were doing she's done a couple she's done a whole bunch of announcing. Like she is good. She is good. Yeah. She kind of intimidates me. So
I thought it was great when we did that little head-to-head. I thought she was super. She put me back on my heels. So
it cracked me up too because she was trying to coach the different. Her and Ryan both tried to coach all you guys, and Jackie, true to form, just TT'd away from everyone.
Yeah, I mean that second place move though is pretty great.
That was awesome.
Came from right in here, baby.
That was it was cool because they said she Christy Tracy. And then I saw Christy Tracy comment on KK's Strava that she loved how she got Christy Tracy'd, which was super cool. That was so cool. That was amazing. That was so fun.
It was her birthday today. It was Christy Tracy's birthday today.
Happy birthday, Christy.
So, happy birthday.
All right, let's see. What do we got next? We went through. Oh, so what do you guys think about the Premier League day change? I don't remember if we talked about that. Are you guys like it more? Is it better?
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a certain mental block in the fact that you can't train well on the weekends with a Monday race. And like I know that intellectually you can just shift the week, but like for me as a pro who doesn't have a day job at least, but like literally it's a weight off my shoulders. Like, oh yeah, I can chill on Monday and race. I think that's nice. And I think it's just more appropriate. Everybody knows that Monday's a dead time for anything, right? It's bad time to run a cycling class. It's a bad time to have a show. Like, so it's great.
Yeah.
Tuesdays.
And I was also very happy that they pushed season 4 back to September. I was hoping for October, but I was glad they kind of. I know participation has been significantly down here in season 3. So.
We give them crap and they respond somehow. It's good.
I mean, huge props to WTRL for number one, everything they've done, but number two, listening to the feedback of the community. It has to be. I mean, they put Zwift too. I mean, they put in so much time and effort into this series, and to say like, okay, we had planned to do it all year long, but we're going to change that's a big deal. That shows a lot.
And we won't get into the muddy details, but evidenced on week 1, they're being more aggressive with anti-cheating as well, at least in the men's field. And that's great to see. It's important. And my 2 complaints were like the draft physics need to change because they're the same every time. And the anti-cheating needs to improve. And all of the format changes, I guess, would be the third thing. And they've addressed all 3 of them. So I'm feeling very positive after watching today.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So next up, we have Jackie's Hill of the Week, and it's really a downhill of the week. And I just realized that Jackie cannot see my screen right now, so I'm going to have to share it. So let me share it so that Jackie can see it. So my screen's going to look weird for a second. So Jackie, why don't you give a little intro while I'm messing with all this?
Yeah, so we talked about doing some hills and segments of the week. just because they're fun. Who doesn't like doing a downhill? Maybe a little more in real life because you get to hit that speed, but downhill, it's pretty fun on Zwift too because you get to hit some of those more fun time marks. So here I started recording from the top of Radio Tower. And as you can see, I've warmed up very nicely for you. This is the end of 3-hour workout to simulate mid-race exhaustion. So I am very much red-faced and sweaty here. I cannot judge Rick ever again after I show up on the video. And I'm going to gun it and actually go for the 100-kilometer-per-hour race here. So the way you want to do it, and you'll see me slowly building speed, building speed, building speed. I'm at 60 kilometers per hour now and just ramping into that full power, more and more as I gather speed, aiming to hit my full power. Now you see I'm in the red as I hit kind of that maximum incline around 15, 70% on this hill, getting 90. If I had a power up, this is when I'd hit it. This is when you're trying to get that max speed, everything you have, max, and now I'm just gassed. So that's kind of what you want to go. If you want to go for that 100-kilometer-per-hour sort of like bonus badge, go from the top of Radio Tower, get a nice aero bike, have somebody to help draft, even with these new drafting mechanics, and save an aero power up that's just going to help you get those extra few kilometers per hour, because at that speed, a helmet power up, something like that is just going to give you that little extra bonus you need. So from here,
oh
yes.
Yeah, go ahead. You're doing the whole downhill. This is going to be great.
Yeah. So from here, we're actually going to go fully down the hill because this is featured in a lot of races, and it's a lot of aero tucking. So aero tucking is when you stop pedaling, your avatar goes, punches over the bars, makes himself as aerodynamic as possible, and you get to full out rest. And this is super important after you've done epic KOM and Radio Tower, because your heart is probably 180 plus beats per minute and you're dying. The trick on this descent is knowing when to come out of that aero tuck. And the answer is as soon as the gradient is anything less than -4%. And so you see here, I go from resting to sprinting up that tiny hill. We're back in the red again. And then I cut it out as soon as we're back on that negative, 5-6% gradient. I'm resting, I'm chilling out, I'm getting my heart rate down. And epic KOM, the backside is really fun. You can actually see coming up here, there's going to be this nice big 20-second, 8% grade that you have to gun. But this is where you can make a breakaway in a race. And this is where you can really make something stick. This is where you can drop somebody who didn't recover as well as you. Or even if you don't necessarily drop them, and here we go, as the gradient changes, you'll notice I stand up and just hammer out another red effort to the top of this gradient while we're hitting, gradients we thought we left behind on the uphill. And I really love this one because even if I can't make a breakaway stick here, I can always surprise somebody in the pack, and then they have to spend their next break actually working while I'm just chilling on my bike, not pedaling, having a gel or a water bottle. As you can see here, another little uphill, punch it to the red very, very briefly until we're back to that negative gradient and I can aero tuck and not.
You want me
So
to
that's the whole pattern of this downhill. Rest when you can, punch it when you can.
skip to the 6-minute mark? Hope you guys can't hear my kids up there.
And now at this point, this is where that strategy starts to diminish. We're going to start to see shallower gradients where it's not efficient to not pedal anymore. And that usually happens, you've got this great visual of the turnoff to Alpe de Zwift. And now we're going to start seeing shallower downhills where you do need to pedal. The question is how hard. And that's always going to be dependent on the race you're in. So if I was in a solo breakaway right now, I would still be gunning it. I'd be putting in these threshold efforts, just trying to get as far away from the people who are undoubtedly pedaling behind my back. Now, if I was in a group and there were people giving me a great draft and I was comfortable, I would go back to sort of a minimal pedal, something blue zone, something zone 2, where I could just continue to recover, get my breath back, so I'm ready to go once I'm on the flats down in the little villas.
All right.
Nicely done.
So,
Thank you.
so Jackie, I saw you had 15 million drops there.
Yep.
Really racking them up.
Yep.
Nothing
Saving
to
up for a
spend
nice
them on.
shopping spree.
Jackie, do you have the 100 km/h badge?
Yes, I do.
I was
It was
hoping I had
not at
something you
the end of a
didn't.
3-hour race.
I do. I also have it, and I'm like so light and useless on downhills. And I think I added an extra wrinkle to that. I think if you ride the time trial bike to start, get an aero power up, or ride a road bike to start, get an aero power up, get to the top, and then switch to the TT bike, you can keep the power up and ride the TT bike. And that is the only way my 600 watts and 60 kilos got to 100K an hour.
Yeah, I
So,
will say I got my 100 kilo badge when I had forgotten to switch out of a time trial bike, and was doing that whole course, I think, as recon for a Three Sisters ride. And, I was actually doing an erg mode, a power workout with intermediate sprints built in, and I was not even planning to get the badge. It was just a series of errors until, oh look, you're doing 700 watts down the hill on a TT bike. Here you go.
So, do you want to hear how I got it?
Oh yes.
I've been on Zwift maybe a month or two, so I'm doing a race, and it was like when Innsbruck first came out. So the Innsbruck, the downhill off there, I was doing like tour of Innsbruck or something like that. So I didn't really know how stuff worked. I didn't know much about bike racing, and I felt really good after the top of this hill, and I thought I'm gonna break away from this group on the downhill. And so I just start hammering as fast as I can on the downhill, just everything I got. And I got over 100 kilometers an hour, and I didn't drop a single person because I didn't realize that, and they were not pedaling at all, and I'm going like 700 watts.
and they're like, sweet.
Yeah,
This is
it-
I am impressed that you got to 100 kilometers an hour, not only on Innsbruck, but also not drafting on anybody.
no, it was really, I gotta admit, it was
Rick
really
weighed
stupid.
500 pounds back then, but
No, I did weigh about 20 pounds more than I weigh now, but this is felt Rick. This is me really slimmed down. So yeah, it was like one of my dumbest racing moments, along with the time where I thought the draft van put you like in theory behind a van no matter where you were. So I popped
had
the
that
draft
too.
van and went to the front and hammered and could not for the life of me figure out why I wasn't going anywhere.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. I think these are like the dumb Zwift. Maybe I'll make a video of like the dumb Zwift things everybody has done and get like all of you Premier League people on to tell about all the same dumb stuff everybody else has done.
I've
Yeah.
got a good one. I can tell you that you should definitely, for those of you that dual record power on pedal clips, you're in your living room, you're not going to fall over, and you're not going to have to stop suddenly. Put your clips to maximum tension, because that will A, make sure you're getting all the power you're actually putting in, and B, you won't accidentally unclip in the middle of your living room.
Wow. It's funny, I've never had that problem because my quads are very small. I've never pulled out of a pedal. Oh, wait.
We're having a minor meltdown here, so we got a new guest. We got another
Our
guest.
new guest host.
Yeah, new guest host. Oh,
Say other cycling shoe related mishaps I've had, not with Zwifting, but with triathlon, that will also make everybody on this call feel a lot smarter, is mixing up my left and right shoes, not just once, not just twice, but 3 times, to the point that my tri club awarded me at the end of the year Sharpies to write left and right on.
Mhm.
Well, at least you got some free Sharpies out of the deal.
Oh, they were the good ones. They were like the thick tip with the wedge, so you can write in calligraphy if you want.
Nice.
My left and right looked very, very professional.
I did a triathlon or two back in high school, back when I thought I could run. And my first one, I came through the transition, got my bike. I didn't have bike shoes, so I just grabbed the bike and went and get out. You don't have your helmet on. I drop the bike, I run back there to get my helmet, and I'm running in so fast that I punt it with my foot, literally like 20 feet. And like everybody's like, oh my God, this kid, what's his bike's over there, the helmet's over there. I won my age group though, which was,
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a swimmer and a runner in high school. So I did one triathlon and I was there were like 300 people and I was 12th in the swim and I won the run. There were like professional triathletes there. I mean, I was obviously a decent runner at the time. However, on the bike, I was 250th. And so like I was getting passed by like old ladies and stuff. Like it was very like people with fanny packs. It was crazy. Oh,
And
yeah.
you just described how I did every single triathlon until I started Zwift and became a cyclist.
Oh, no way. You weren't. Oh, Jacquie.
Oh yeah, no, my cycling
life
was
unfair.
the slowest part.
So one of the people on the draft or on the thing, are you also upset by the new draft dynamics, Aurelia? No, she says no. So
She's good.
yeah. I know you don't. Yeah, so let's skip into our one big thing of the week. I want to talk to you guys about strength training. This is something that has become kind of near and dear to my heart. And I have a feeling both of you guys have some cool takes on it. So maybe Jacquie, you can start off. Tell us a little bit about what you do. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I think strength training is an integral part of any exercise routine, whether your goal is just to improve your health, whether it's to lose weight, or whether it's to crush your competition. There's room for everywhere. My strength routine has changed since I've transitioned from swimming to triathlon to cycling. I now spend a lot less time on my upper body and a lot more time doing full range of motion, lower body lifts. I do not lift heavy. In fact, I specifically focus on range of motion because that has been scientifically proven to hurt your muscles more and produce bigger results. And it does hurt. But I still do a full range of upper body and core because, when you're in the sprint, doing that final bike rocking, wring every watt out of you, that comes from your psoas muscles, your hip flexors, that comes from your low back supporting your legs, and ultimately that comes from your shoulders, transmitting that force through your handlebars. So I think my one big takeaway, and this is coming from a cyclist, don't neglect arm day. You're all cyclists, so I know you're not going to be the lifting bro for getting leg day. Like, that's just bread and butter. But really remember that, maybe you don't need to do all the bicep curls in the world. But if you want to avoid neck pain, if you want to avoid shoulder pain, back pain, and you really want to be able to get that final sprint, you do need to focus on the shoulders. You need to make sure you have those stabilizers ready to go because you do use them. You just don't need to be able to be like, yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we don't want Jordan doing that. We don't want Jordan doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I've never skipped an arm day. That's good. Well, maybe you wouldn't think it looking at me, but I do strength training. But I'll reflect more on this from a coaching perspective. For my athletes, it's always a balancing act. It's like speed on the bike at a certain point. If you only have 6 or 8 hours to get fit a week, you should probably spend most of, if not all, on the bicycle, especially if strength training is something that takes a lot of extra time to do, go to the gym and whatever, or if you don't like it. I'm not going to tell people to lift weights if they don't, if they hate it. But it's nice. It's good for aging athletes. It really is. If you can spend some winter time and sort of like rebuild your strength. And then over the spring, summer, when you're riding more, it tapers off and you do some maintenance, but you build the bone density, you build this basic strength. So I do support that. And that's sort of what I can do too as a pro. I never go that crazy on strength training because I know that in a normal year, I'll be on the road for 14 weeks out of from March to September. Like, so I'll be, and there's no going to the gym in a stage race. You'd be a heretic if someone saw you doing that. So I shift more to like a core strength routine. And like a coach I had a while back used to say, when it comes to strength, hit it and quit it. So I have a routine that I can do really quickly, and I encourage my athletes to do that too. 10 or 15 minutes 3 times a week, every week for the whole season is so much better than going to the gym, buying your membership, to doing the sauna and everything, spending 2.5 hours at the gym and doing all your lifts, and then doing that 3 or 4 times and never going again, which is what cyclists will tend to do because we like bikes, not weights, usually. So yeah, consistency, I think, with strength and core is very important. Like you'll see some great benefits on the bike doing 10 or 15-minute sessions with that. And yeah, if you can throw some squats in the winter and sort of build your base with that, so to speak, I think that's great too.
Yeah, I mean, and I kind of wanted to comment this from a bit of like a bit older athlete. I pretty recently turned 40, and I've noticed that I'm just not quite as strong as I used to be. I mean, probably a combination of COVID, where I just sit at my desk 100 million hours a week and all that. But um, so what I've started doing, and I think there's a kettlebell around here somewhere. Yeah, they're right there. I've started doing some kettlebell stuff. I like it because one, I can do it in my house. I mean, I don't have time to go for the gym. To your point, Jordan, like I like lifting weights to a point, but I don't like it enough where I'm going to go to the gym. Like I don't. Obviously, I have children. I have a job. I have stuff that I want to spend my time on. That is not like going and getting swole at the gym. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like kudos to people who enjoy that. Like everybody likes different stuff. Um, but it's something that I enjoy doing it in my house. I enjoy it when it's pretty quick. And I've found some good 15, 30, 45-minute kettlebell workouts that'll work your whole body. Kettlebells are nice because you only need like two things to do a full body workout, between some body weight stuff, and I've found that in my off season, which is the summer, I'm really going to focus on that. Try to lift weights after my hard workouts, which Trainer Road has said is kind of the best way to do it. Take your easy days really easy and lift and then I'm going to try to focus on some yoga and stuff like that on my off days, and take my off days, instead of riding an hour a day, I basically have an hour a day to work out ish. Some days I have more, but if I'm going to do an hour on my easy days, I'll do, 30 minutes ride, 30 minutes yoga or something like that. I think just like whole body fitness, it's always important, but when you get older, to both of you guys hit on it, back pain, you get weaker, like it's whole body fitness gets more and more important to maintain as you get older. And all the research on it shows that it's harder to get, like you can't, the further down you go, you can't get back up to that same level. And I think we all kind of see that in our fitness as we get older too.
And just as the future doctor here, I want to hop on that and say it is 100% crucial, for women, who need to hit that peak bone density. Cycling is great as a sport, but it just never gives us that bone building stress that we need. So, weightlifting is great for that. And then again, you said as we get older, there's actually excellent evidence to show that weightlifting, really lengthens the amount of time that we're able to stay active, we're able to stay independent. And, we're not just talking older like 40, talking older into the 80s and 90s. That's when we begin to see weightlifting become especially important. And there's good evidence to show that it actually delays the onset of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. Really, really thinking that far down the road, and it really is these little amounts that you can do at home. This is not like the 2.5 hour workout sessions. This is do the kettlebells, do the body weight. And it's so, so important from a performance level to a lifestyle level to I want to chase my grandkids around the yard level. So
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what you said. It turns into more like a quality of life thing. And when you're younger, like when I was in my 20s, and like you know you're going to get older, but you don't picture what you think like I'm gonna feel like this forever. Turns out you don't. And like the more you can do on the front end to preserve your quality of life, like I had kids and I took a couple years off working out, and it was one of the biggest mistakes. I'll probably always regret it my whole life. I was in really good shape, and then I wasn't, and it certainly wasn't their fault, but it was like you need to figure out how to maintain fitness and how to keep that up. And I mean, I think weightlifting is a really important part of that to the quality of my life, chasing around grandkids or chasing around kids when you get older. I mean, they got a lot more energy than you. So, no, that's a really good topic, near and dear to my heart. So yeah, super cool. I always forget Jackie is like a legit doctor.
Yeah.
And, that's
I
that's
got a few prescriptions I need
I
refilled.
graduate in a month.
that is so awesome. Like that is a huge deal. Like I am really that is so cool. Just winning Premier League, becoming a doctor, NBD. All
Big
Mhm.
summer.
I'm gonna start coming with little issues that I have,
I know.
during the show.
Look at this ratch, Jackie.
Yeah,
Isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Oh,
yeah.
then I'm gonna have to ask to see your insurance.
Good one.
Uh,
Yeah.
All right. So what's next? We're gonna have some guest hosts. As you heard, Jackie's summer is incredibly busy. We're gonna get some guest hosts on here. Please comment the type of people you'd like to see, the type of topics you'd like covered. I mean, we're here for you guys. We're certainly enjoying ourselves. We love talking. Hopefully, we're gonna keep this going all summer, talking about Zwift. We're gonna reincorporate racers in the week. We're gonna reincorporate the team stuff. We just were not as organized. Sometimes you just gotta like jump into it. So that's what we did.
We had stuff to catch up on, Rick. We needed this time for us.
I know. Plus, how are we going to heap so much praise on Jackie if we're doing this other stuff?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and so we got a lot of plans, but if there's other stuff you want to see, I mean, I know that Jackie's feature, like Jackie's How to Ride This feature, that was a huge hit. And so, we're going to keep that going.
Suggestions for new routes. We've got a couple more queued up, but if there's anything in particular you want to see ridden or figured out, maybe even some trial and error with those new draft mechanics. We'll see what you can do, but you guys have great ideas.
Yeah. And something else we probably will end up doing is, and we're not going to do course previews on the show. We talk about it, but if we can line up some of Jackie's tips to the next CRL race. We had to change the time and all that stuff of the show, but yeah, and we got some hopefully some cool guest hosts coming on. That would be super fun. But so I'll make sure we're posting this on Facebook, we'll put it on Instagram. I got to get better. Got to up my social game. I'm not a very social person. So yeah, but that's it. Jackie, Jordan, anything you want to say before we go?
No, it's just great to be back, and looking forward to a very exciting season with everybody and an awesome summer on Outside the Draft.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely great. This is my meet with cool people and rant about Zwift session, so it feels great to be back.
Love it. So if you like the content, hit like and subscribe. We really appreciate you watching. And again, let us know what you want to see.